Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all those massive cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had. Probably be the best you ever have as well. Hell, same thing with those half-pound Wagyu USDA Prime burgers. Never had a better burger in my life. You probably wouldn't either. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call. Find out what's for dinner. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935 for UppercutChops.com. Gosh. And it's good stuff. All right, a big welcome in everybody listening in on all of our radio and television affiliates from coast to coast. Everybody's streaming. Pick your favorite platform. We're there too. You can't get away from us. Everybody over on Facebook, thanks for joining us on Chicago Food Favorites. Folks, make sure you check that out at Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. It's free, it's fun, and it's just good old-fashioned food talk and food stuff. All right, we like that. All right, now on a not-so-pleasant note, there was a hurricane that came rumbling through Tampa and across the state of Florida, which caused mayhem and madness all over the place. And according to ABC News, the roof at Tropicana Field sustained major damage from Hurricane Milton. And ABC News stated, the home of the Tampa Bay Rays sustained major damage because of high winds associated with Hurricane Milton, which made landfall last Wednesday along Florida's Gulf Coast as a Category 3 storm. Now, of course, the ballpark is in St. Pete and was designated as a staging site for first responders and state and local emergency management service, aiding with debris removal. And the facility was set up to host 10,000 people with cots arranged on the playing surface. Now, Captain Garth Swingle of the St. Petersburg Fire Rescue told ABC News there's been contact with the people inside that are safe. Thank God for that. It wasn't immediately known if there was damage inside the stadium. However, the roof is made from a very light substance, very light, and it's a long ethylene tetrafluoroethylene polymer that basically is stronger than glass, but significantly lighter. And the metal frame appeared to be unscathed, which is good news. Now, according to the Rays, the Trop was built to withstand winds up to 115 miles per hour, and the roof is supported by 180 miles of cables connected by struts in what the team calls, quote, the world's largest cable-supported dome roof. Now, the stadium opened back in 1990, cost $138 million back in the day, and of course is due to be replaced in time for the 2028 season with a $1.3 billion ballpark. Now, St. Petersburg recorded over 16 inches of rain due to the storm, prompting the National Weather Service to warn of flash flooding about 90 minutes after making landfall. And Milton was downgraded to a Category 2 storm. By late Wednesday, the hurricane had maximum sustained winds of 105, and the storm surge warnings were in effect part of Florida's Gulf Coast and, of course, the Atlantic coastline. So it was a big thing going on there. Unfortunately, the stadium was only supposed to be able to handle 115-mile-an-hour winds, and some of those winds were reported over 130 miles an hour. Now, concerns over the storm and an effect on Florida's forced cancellation of a whole bunch of games. We're going to get to that in a second. But unfortunately, now you have stadium problems that should have been solved a long time ago, but the ownership for the Tampa Bay Rays just said, well, you know what, we're not going to do it right now. They tried to sell the team, and they were not very successful in that. They tried to move the team. They were not very successful in that. Nonetheless, the Associated Press reported on this story from ABC News, and there's so much more to this. And I'm not talking about the Tampa Bay Rays. I'm talking about the actual storm itself. I mean, the storm has delayed or canceled games up and down Florida on both sides, whether it's the Gulf Coast or the East Coast. And even obviously the Lightning and the Hurricanes were postponed because of that. And the Lightning play, probably about 20 minutes away from where Tropicana Field is. And there is video that you can go check and see about the blown off roof. And the video is all over the place. Pick your favorite place to watch your videos and you'll see it. But you have all kinds of closures and whatnot over there. Even the Hawks and the Heat game has been postponed. The Orlando Magic game has been postponed. And on we go. And folks, here's an interesting thing. Now, I don't really do a lot of this, but I'm going to tell you that it is my opinion, and it's not just my opinion. In my opinion, I believe that the weather has been manipulated for quite some time. But there's evidence that the United States controls its weather, the government, that is. And if you don't believe it, listen to this short little blip here. This is really interesting.
World War II, the United States government have been able to manipulate the weather. That's a fact. You can look it up.
This is Clayton Morris.
We've been able to control and even weaponize the weather. That's
courtesy of Clayton Morris.
In the 1970s, the United States Congress put forth a bill to regulate weather manipulators. That's right. In case you had some sort of a weather manipulation tool, the United States government wanted you to register it with the United States government and get a license for it. On November 13th, 1946, pilot Curtis Talbot, working for the General Electric Research Laboratory, he climbed up to the top of a local area, local peak, 14,000 feet high near Schenectady. I love that name. Near Schenectady, New York. Talbot, along with another researchers, released just 3 pounds of dry ice into the clouds, high above Schenectady. And suddenly it began to swirl. Suddenly ice crystals formed, and then it started to snow. Big snow was a result of that. The first man-made snowstorm just after World War II. Then experiments continued into rain and manipulation of tornadoes and hurricanes, and it came quietly. Then came Project Cirrus, which has been recently declassified. 1947, U.S. experiment, along with the United States Navy, the Army, General Electric. They attempted to control hurricanes using cloud seeding. It was aimed at reducing the severity of storms. But guess what? It did the exact opposite, and efforts actually redirected a hurricane right towards Georgia. Look at the path of this hurricane. They started seeding the clouds after the hurricane had already gone through the southern tip of Florida, and it was heading out to sea, moving away from Florida. It literally redirected it away from Florida. Then once they started seeding the clouds, look at this. It redirected it back into Georgia, bringing devastation to Georgia.
So, folks, this is nothing new. And this is not my opinion. By the way, that was Clayton Morris. Make sure you check him out over on pick your favorite social media. And, in fact, this one was on X, if I'm not mistaken. But nonetheless, I guess what I'm trying to say, folks, is the U.S. government has the ability through the HARP program to, I guess, if you will, manipulate weather. Now, if you don't know what the HARP program is, it may not be a bad idea for you to read about it and learn about it. And it is not some kind of conspiracy nonsense or whatever. It has nothing to do with that. Nothing. And HARP is one of those programs that you probably want to look into. And why do I say that? Because it can change your world on a regular basis. It is what it is, folks. And it's actually called the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. And so if you don't know what all of that stuff means, it basically is a situation where the weather, and this is according to Encyclopedia Britannica, HAARP and scientific facilities for studying the ionosphere located near Alaska. Again, Kona, Alaska. The main instrument is the Ionospheric Research Instrument, an array of 180 radio antennas spread over an area that's about 33 acres, thereabouts. And, for your information, the ionosphere is the outermost layer of the Earth's atmosphere. It begins about 30 miles above the Earth's surface. And essentially, folks, if you change certain things within it, this is kind of the Cliff Notes version, the radio communications can actually manipulate the weather. Now, these HAARP locations are not just in the U.S. I mean, they're all over the place. Seriously, these are all over the place. And if you understand how radio frequency works, then you'll understand how this stuff works. Now, if you don't know, I would urge you to just go to your favorite search engine, type in HAARP. That's HAARP. Check that out, folks, because that is something that you will learn a lot about. Believe me, it is one of those things you want to know about, because it will change. For all you sports bettors out there, when you look at the weather reports, how come there's a storm suddenly over this spot or that spot? And then you have some pseudo event. Believe me, it happens. Check it out, folks. Back here in a few minutes, right here on the Sports Circus. Don't go anywhere.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. All right, welcome in everybody listening in on all of our affiliates, radio, television, across these United States of America. Big hello to our friends over in Atlanta, WDJY 99.1 FM. Over in Auburn, Alabama, WAUD 1230 AM, home of the Atlanta Braves. Also our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the Yankees, 49ers, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. And plus everybody, welcome in on television in hotels in all major markets on hotel TV as well. All right. So, speaking of changes, we had weather changes and all this other stuff, whatnot, in the last segment. Folks, make sure you check out that HAARP story, HAARP. That's really interesting. Anyway, speaking of changes, go to the National Football League. In the National Football League, they say, well, you know, this guy's not performing so well. We're going to go ahead and get rid of him. We're going to demote this guy. We're going to fire this guy. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Whatever the case. And I guess the bigger question is, when is it too early to pull the plug? When is it too early to say, hey, this guy, we're paying him, he's a quarterback, for example, we're paying this guy a bunch of money. Like Deshaun Watson, $230 million contract. If we bench him, are we getting bang for our buck? Or are we worried about what the team is going to do? Now, Deshaun Watson is not the subject of the story, but I'm saying, this is one of those situations. So what's going on with Aaron Rodgers? Aaron Rodgers is a very good quarterback. He will be a Hall of Famer at some point. And I'm just glad he's out of the NFC North for my beloved Bears, if you know what I mean. We don't have to deal with that guy anymore. But now he's over with the New York Jets, or we should call them the New Jersey Jets, because they do play in East Rutherford. So what's going on over there? It just seems like there's a power struggle. So, you clear your throat and say, yeah, what are we doing here? So, and I remember seeing some video recently between one of his wide receivers, a third-year wide receiver, and Aaron Rodgers. And it looked like a shouting match was going on in between downs, or in between possessions, when the offense was going out or the offense was coming off. I don't know what it was. I can't remember. But my point is, here's Aaron Rodgers, a very smart guy, a very sharp guy, but is he too controlling? Is he so controlling that he is causing a little bit of stir? Well, I want it this way. I'm not saying he does that. What I'm wondering, is Aaron good for the New York Jets culture? I don't know. When's the last time the Jets have had a real type A personality at the quarterback position? I think it's been a long time. Think about this. Who was the last real type A quarterback personality-wise? I'll get to this, why it matters in a moment. The Jets represent what a team is. And this is me. I'm not from New York. I have family from there, but let's face it, I watch football like everybody else. Well, like a lot of other people. But what I notice about the Jets is the quarterback position, and I'll even go to say it's the same thing with the Giants. In New York, there aren't enormous personalities at the quarterback position. You look back historically, when's the last time either team has had that? I have to go all the way back to Broadway Joe. I go to Joe Willie. And Joe Willie was an enormous personality for the New York Jets. But in between, I don't recall them having one. And there's a reason I'm going here with this. With the New York Giants, when's the last time they had a big personality at the quarterback position? Because I would even argue Eli Manning was not a big personality. I just don't think he was. And even right now, when you watch them do their Manning cast on the 4-letter network or whatnot, Eli is pretty quick and witty, but he's not an enormous personality. And so I say this with all due respect to the league and to Aaron Rodgers and the Jets and Giants and all the other teams. You know, a bigger personality in the quarterback position is the old double-edged sword. And you say, well, all right, are they too controlling? So is Aaron Rodgers telling the New York Jets what he wants? Probably. Did he tell the Green Bay Packers what he wants? Probably. And that's why you had changes here and changes there. You had this guy and that guy and so forth. Does he want less controlling coaches around him? I don't know. Because then we go to the story of the Jets demoting offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett. Strips him of play calling, being the Jets organization, not Aaron Rodgers. So they strip him of play calling duties under the new interim head coach. And you ask yourself, was the firing of their former coach because of Aaron Rodgers? I don't know. That's very interesting. So Jeff Ulbrich says Todd Downing will be orchestrating a new offensive scheme. So this is according to many, many outlets here. I mean, this one's all over the place. And we'll just go ahead and credit Yahoo Sports for this. Now, they say more changes are afoot for the New York Jets. New interim head coach Jeff Ulbrich announced that the offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett would no longer be the team's game day play caller. Replacing Hackett as a play caller will be Todd Downing, the team's quarterbacks coach and passing game coordinator. Now here's a clip that we've got. This was courtesy of X, and it is by Jets Video. That's on X. So here we go. Listen to this.
Regarding the staff, after a lot of time to think about it, and did not make this decision easily by any means, I'm going to make Todd Downing the play caller for the New York Jets going forward. And this is more a byproduct of a different take on things. I'm not saying it's a better or worse take on things by any means, but just a different take on things, a fresh approach. So ultimately, Todd will have the full say on the game plan and ultimately the plays that are called within the game. Saying that as well, just another testament to the human being that Nathaniel Hackett is. The fact that he's going to give us everything in his body and heart and soul, and he's going to continue to be a big part of the success we're going to have going forward from an offensive perspective. And just I feel so fortunate that he's staying with us. I mean, here's a guy that's been a head coach in this league and willing to draw cards, willing to do whatever it takes. So the true heart of a servant. Just I feel so fortunate that he's on our staff, that he's in our lives, and I can't speak enough good things about him.
Well, and I think that's great. All right, so you've got Todd Downing that's going to call him, and which he probably will work a little bit better with the quarterbacks coach because as the quarterbacks coach, probably better because he is more in line with everything that Aaron Rodgers does. And so Aaron's going to basically get what he wants with the consigliere as Todd Downing, as I see it. But is it good for the Jets organization? I don't necessarily know. I mean, you have to ask yourself, there is the possibility of discontent. I mean, look, the Jets are 2-3 this season. They've struggled a lot on offense. And the bigger question is Aaron Rodgers going to flourish even with his own play calling or his own ideas, his own everything, whatever that means? Because I think that's actually what's going to happen. So I believe that Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion, says, you know what? Sorry, Mr. Hackett, we don't need you calling plays. I'm going to call the plays. And I'm going to go through this Downing guy, and I'm going to basically put it on him, but I'm going to tell Downing what I'm going to do. He's going to clear it. So it's basically, as I see it, as a go-between in a very convenient way for Aaron Rodgers, which I'm not saying that's bad, because I respect Aaron Rodgers, his abilities. I mean, he's just one of those guys. Look, he's not the most fleet of foot, but man, he is elusive. Kind of like watching Patrick Mahomes. He is very elusive. It's amazing. And so I guess the bigger question is, are the receivers going to be on the same page? Because frankly, all they want to do is catch the ball. They want to catch the ball, get those yak, right? Yards after catch. They want that. But is it going to amount to more than that? Let's go back and have a little history lesson here. Back in 2016, Aaron Rodgers had no running game in Green Bay. And Green Bay was struggling. They were 4-6 at one point. And he's like, don't worry, this kind of thing. And so what did the Packers do? They were smart. They went and got themselves a running game. Because you can't just throw. He was throwing at that time about 73%. I remember this. I covered the story a long time ago. And he was throwing about 73% of the time, which made it a very one-dimensional offense. And everybody obviously could key on the passing game. So I guess the bigger question is Aaron Rodgers going to allow more of a running attack, just playing on history? Because the running will open up the passing, just like the passing opens up the running. A balanced attack does that in the National Football League and in the NCAA, which we're going to get to in the next segment. And you have to ask yourself, is this good in the short run or the long run for the team? Because I'm worried about the running game for the New York Jets if they don't have any kind of a balance here. Aaron Rodgers is going to fall back into what he faced in 2016 with the Green Bay Packers, and that's going to lead to, as I see it, in my opinion, the demise of Gang Green and the Jets. I like the Jets. We'll see what happens there. Anyway, lots more to come here on the Sports Circus. Don't go anywhere. Back in a few. I'm your Ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it out here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello Americans, it's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time. That's 800-950-2049.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over in St. Louis on the Hill. That's Lou Bacardi's. Folks, if you want some good Italian food and you've never been to the Hill in St. Louis, got to tell you, folks, really good Italian food. Check out award-winning Lou Bacardi's at 5424 Magnolia Avenue. Boy, that is some really, really good Italian food. Everything from pizzas to appetizers to clam strips and artichoke hearts, garlic breads, the traditional pasta dinners and lunches from spaghetti, mastrocchioli, ravioli, you name it, they've got it. You can even create your own. Check them out. Again, that is Lou Bacardi's at 5424 Magnolia Avenue, St. Louis. Give them a call. Find out what's for dinner. Make your reservation. 314-647-1151. 314-647-1151. Even the Riverfront Times in St. Louis praises Lou Bacardi's. This is a great organization, first-class operation. It's run the right way. The food is spectacular. Check them out. Again, folks, we don't get anything for saying this. We're just calling them out because those are our friends, and we like them over there at Lou Bacardi's. Check them out again, 5424 Magnolia Street, St. Louis. Give them a call and find out what's for lunch or dinner. 314-647-1151. And tell them the circus sent you. That's good stuff, folks. Boy, what a cool little neighborhood. You know, seems like most every city in America has their own ethnic areas or little Italies or Chinatowns or whatnot. The Hill is one of those hidden ones over in St. Louis that, unless you're told about it and you're not from St. Louis, chances are you're not going to know about it. So make sure you check that out, folks. Boy, that's good stuff. You know, back to this football thing. We were talking about the New York Jets in the last segment. And it's not just the Jets that are making, in my opinion, making mistakes, or I should say, making news. And so sometimes the news is good, and well, sometimes we know it's not so good. But you ask yourself, when does the news become good for a team? And we think about my beloved Chicago Bears. And you know, the Bears have really had some rough times. I mean, let's face it. They haven't had a quality team on the field in many years. But the good news is the Bears are slowly turning it around. They've got seemingly a pretty good regime in there. And they're playing pretty good football right now. I don't necessarily say that they're a playoff team at this point. I don't think they're ready for that. It's just my opinion. But then again, my opinion is just like everybody else's. We all have opinions. And, you know, we all also have something else. And you know where that one's going. But my point in all of this is that you think of what the Bears put on the field. Are they good enough to win? And let's just reflect back to St. Louis for a moment. When the Rams were there, were they good enough to win? Yes, they won a Super Bowl. But then money got in the way. So with the Chicago Bears, I'm asking, are the Bears good enough as they stand, or is money going to get in the way? I mean, look, if Keenan Allen actually can get himself into playing condition, he just seems to have nagging injuries year in and year out. He was a big acquisition, but the guy hasn't really stepped on the field and played anything. And you have to ask, well, what's going on here? I mean, even with this hurricane that we talked about, Hurricane Milton delays the Jaguars' flight to London for the game against the Bears and all this other stuff, right? So there's ongoing issues. And again, this is about what? Money. Money, money, money. And, you know, you think back to the Bears. They had chances to do stuff. And, you know, here's an interesting thing that most people don't know. That's right. Way back in 2020 when Tom Brady was hunting around for some kind of an option, a team, where he was going to play. What was he going to do? Yes, Tom Brady said on air that the Chicago Bears were one of his choices as a place. And so people are like, you're full of crap. They're just joking about it. But no, George McCaskey actually confirmed the Bears' 2020 interest in Tom Brady. Imagine what could have happened in Chicago, because, you know, they would have built a great team around him because they wanted to win. And he is allegedly the greatest quarterback of all time. And I would say that there are some discussions about that. I would argue that Joe Montana was a better quarterback. I mean, he got there 4 times, he won 4 times, but he did it in a very different way. Joe Montana and Tom Brady were both great quarterbacks. And I would also argue that even John Elway was one of the greater quarterbacks. And Elway, he had to lose a bunch of times to go back and finally win. But ultimately, this was a guy with an enormous arm that could take a hit, and boy, did he take his lumps. But you ask yourself, what would have happened with the Bears, right? And so we go back to this whole McCaskey confirming the interest in Tom Brady. So according to Pro Football Talk on NBC Sports, they say Tom Brady recently filled garbage time during a Fox broadcast claiming that the Bears quietly pursued him in 2024. And the Bears chairman, George McCaskey, confirmed it. And in fact, he even said, quote, "Well, that seems like ancient history at this point. I do remember we were interested in pursuing him. It didn't work out for us. Worked out great for him in Tampa," close quote. So the term interest in pursuing, of course, suggests it didn't get very far. And McCaskey made it clear, like all teams, the Bears evaluated various avenues and so forth. In fact, McCaskey even said, quote, "Anytime you're in a situation like that, you're not putting all of your eggs in one basket. You're looking at alternatives, and it's the same in free agency. It's the same in the draft. If the person you're targeting isn't available, you want to make sure that you've done your due diligence on all other options. So that was one option we were looking at," close quote. And of course, the Bears eventually traded with the Jags for Nick Foles. And how'd that work out? The lifetime journeyman quarterback. And unfortunately, he made a lot of money off of that BS Philly special. Which, think about that. In the Super Bowl, you had two guys line up illegally, which a penalty should have been called on Philadelphia for. But no! It happened that the referees, I wonder what happened there.
Show me the money!
Yeah, somebody seemed to turn a blind eye and didn't see that there was an illegal formation. And so Nick Foles was allowed to score a touchdown based off this illegal formation, and eventually Philadelphia, I guess that's how they have to win Super Bowls. That is exactly what happened. How awful is that? And so the Bears ended up with Nick Foles instead of ponying up the money and all the resources to bring in Tom Brady. Now think about that one. Wrap your head around that for a minute, folks. Because when you think about what could have happened with any organization, and I'm just bringing this up because the Bears were part of the conversation. Well, what do you think about that? I mean, what do you think about the idea of Amari Cooper isn't thinking about being traded off of a terrible, terrible Cleveland Browns offensive situation? They can't protect the quarterback, and Deshaun Watson, for all intents and purposes, is essentially a bust over in Cleveland. And a Cleveland team that they've got a great running back in Nick Chubb, if he ever could play, because he always seems to be injured. And the Cleveland Browns appeared ready to win in the same way that the Cincinnati Bengals appeared to be ready to win a Super Bowl. Oh, that's right. One of them was stolen from them with the LA Rams when Aaron Donald lined up in the neutral zone when the Cincinnati Bengals were going down for a game-tying or game-winning drive at the end of the Super Bowl. Oh, yeah, that's right. That was the second home Super Bowl. They figured, being the powers that be, the money said, well, you know, Tampa won their home Super Bowl, so let's let the Rams do theirs. So we have an East Coast, West Coast one. But is Joe Burrow still the same quarterback? I would argue he is. But Joe says, quote, "I'm still not throwing the ball the way I would like after his wrist injury." Well, I don't know. I mean, you look at his performance, it's been pretty damn good. And then you look at guys like Justin Fields, and you know, I'm a anti-Justin Fields kind of guy, and he's playing okay in Pittsburgh under Mike Tomlin, but I don't necessarily think he is the long-term answer for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It seems like they have that plug-and-play system. They could throw a broken Coke machine or a German Shepherd in there and find a way to score some touchdowns. And, you know, good for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But back to this Aaron Rodgers thing where we started with this story. Is Aaron Rodgers the answer for the New York Jets? Is a big personality at the quarterback position the answer? When's the last time we've had that was successful? Oh, that's right. We have the one right now in Patrick Mahomes. He's a big personality. He commands the field. Tom Brady, when he was playing, big personality, commanded the field. The team did well, just like the Kansas City Chiefs. They do well. But is Aaron Rodgers the best fit for the Green Bay Packers, for the New York Jets? Is he the best fit in the biggest media market? Maybe so. I don't know. I like Aaron as a quarterback. I think he's still certainly capable, but they don't have enough offensive tools around him, and it seems like he's a little frustrated. So they don't have a big running game. They've got some able-bodied receivers, but I would argue that the New York Giants have a better receiving core, and that's why the possibility of Davante Adams coming over to the Jets is more and more possible, so he has a familiar face to throw to, seeing that he threw to him for years and years in Green Bay, and that would be the path. But in the interim, I don't know if firing the offensive coordinator is really the answer. I think it was more of a media stunt than anything. Doesn't really matter. I'm not in that market. Maybe you are, and maybe you have an opinion. Back here in a few minutes on the Sports Circus. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi Code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average and best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, make sure to check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, our recorded shows, which are our podcasts. No, we don't do a podcast. We just happen to be on those platforms. Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, etc. and so forth. Make sure to check out over 2,000 episodes of The Sports Circus there. And also, make sure you go to the partners page. Lots of great partners on the sportscircus.com's partners page. And also, check out the swag. There's all kinds of cool swag that you can pick up for Christmas and all kinds of other events and birthdays and whatnot. So check those out as well at thesportscircus.com. A nice shameless plug for the circus. Yes. All right. Oh, boy. You know, this is kind of a fun show. It's fun for me to do because we don't really have a direction where we're going. And you can tell by the way I change directions on it almost on the fly. So there's nobody writing copy for us. Nah, it's been that way for 8 years and it's going to stay that way. And so sometimes we make people happy. Sometimes they get bent out of shape. Well, you just got to take it in stride. And that's the fun part about this because truly you never know. And sometimes we get phone calls in the middle of the show. And the phone calls will be from Hall of Famers and Super Bowl champions, NBA champions, World Series champions, etc. and so forth. You never know. And sometimes it happens, and sometimes they just join us for the show. But sometimes they're Grammy Award winners. Sometimes they're Academy Award winners. Sometimes they're billionaire business people. And that's the cool thing about the show. It started out as just a sports show on Saturday mornings at 6 a.m. right here in Las Vegas on Fox 1340. And of course they said, you're not any good. You're not going to be any good. We're not going to give you a better time. So after about a month or so, I said, you're going to have to give me a better time because nobody's listening at 6 a.m. on Saturday morning in Las Vegas. Really, who's up at that hour? Maybe the people that are hammered from the night before. I don't know, straggling around the town. Who knows? But ultimately, we moved to an 8:30 a.m. slot over to NBC Sports 920 The Game and got bigger and bigger. And we started adding not only a local audience, but a national audience because we start picking up affiliates in Honolulu and in New York and even on Elvis's first station, WHBQ, over in Memphis. And so we're all over the place in Chicago and New York and San Francisco, everywhere. And the best part about this is whenever somebody says you can't do it, that's when you know you're on the right track. Well, you're not any good. Really? Well, let's see how that works. After 6 months, I signed a 6-month contract with that particular broadcasting company here in Las Vegas. They said, you're not any good. You'll never be any good. You're going to stay on a Saturday morning. And what's interesting is that it was 6 months almost to the date that we picked up the 5 o'clock slot, the 5 o'clock drive time right here in Las Vegas on 670 The Score. That was SB Nation back at the time. After a month, they contacted us. SB Nation said, we want you on the national broadcast. And somebody over there said, you're the best we've got on our airwaves. So apparently, we weren't any good for the local. I think somebody didn't want to lose their time slot is what it was. Because those same people that still occupy that same local time slot, they follow us on social media. That's right. They've been following us as soon as we took that 5 o'clock slot back in 2017. So apparently, we're not any good. Then we started getting real big national press after I broke the Aaron Boone story signing with the New York Yankees back on the 1st of December of 2017. That's right. I actually had his brother Brett Boone on the show during the signing, right when Aaron signed. And it was a really cool show. If you want to listen to a fun show, go back to the December 1st, 2017 show, and you could hear that it was broken right on our show. In fact, I remember seeing it on the Four Letter Network's channel, their second channel, so it's ESPN2. Across the bottom line it said, the New York Post reports that Aaron Boone signed with the New York Yankees. No, sorry, I don't think so. No. We beat the New York Post by over 4 minutes, and it was time-stamped on our show. That's right, for all you people that didn't know. And so I called up the Four Letter Network, said, hey, you guys got it wrong. They said, well, you're going to have to contact the New York Post. I contacted the New York Post. They confirmed it back then. And so the Four Letter Network, this is why I call them that, is because they wouldn't credit the Sports Circus. No. They're like, no, who's that? So we're going to say No. An unknown source broke the story. So we were the unknown source that broke the story. And what was interesting is right after that happened, NBC gave us a real nice write-up on that. And that press release is still available at thesportscircus.com. When you go to About, just scroll down across the press releases, lots and lots of press releases there. Go to the bottom one. If I'm not mistaken, that is the one that says, let me see, I'm going to go there right now, and let's see what it says. If I'm not mistaken, it says the Sports Circus comes to town or something to the effect. Let's see, I'm going to hit About right now. I'm going to do it as we speak. All right, there's me and my sidekick. And the bottom one says the Sports Circus extends their national coverage. Nope, it's actually the one above that. That's when we moved to HKA over in Honolulu. It says Aaron Boone signs as Yankees manager. The Sports Circus scoops the story. That's right. That was courtesy of NBC. Very, very nice of them to do that because at least they recognize. And so you ask yourself, well, what is this show? Maybe it's the first time I'm listening. Maybe it's the 1,000th time I'm listening. How did all this stuff come about? Listen, if you have a dream, an idea, if you want to pursue your own program, don't let anybody tell you you can't do it. Give us a call. We'll share the details. 702-799-9935. We'll tell you how it can be done. It's not that difficult. You just have to have a little bit of intestinal fortitude. It doesn't cost a bunch of money or anything like that. Just give us a call. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Give me a call, and I will do everything I can to fill you on how to do it. Maybe we can even produce your show for you. You never know. All right. Enough of that. Quick wrap-up on baseball. I mean, the Minnesota Twins, after 40 years of ownership, it looks like the Pallad family is going to sell the team. Is that a good thing for baseball? I don't know. I think ticket prices, once they sell the team, ticket prices will go up for everybody in Minneapolis and St. Paul. I'm not so sure that's a great thing, but then again, it's free enterprise. Folks, they have the right to do whatever they want to do. I have no problem with the idea of people making a buck, as long as they don't really rip the fans off. Because, look, it's getting really expensive to go to these games. Really expensive. And unless you're a sports bettor and you can afford it, I'm not so sure that it is the best decision. I really don't know. So, anyway, that's up to you to decide. Real quick, I think the Dodgers are going to pursue Blake Snell in the offseason. Mind you, they're still going here. But I think they're going to go and spend a bunch of money, maybe up towards $200 million. I don't know. How could they even afford that? I have no idea. Real quick, talking about some of these college football games. Now, some of you may get this after. Some of you are going to get it before. Coastal Carolina, James Madison. How about James Madison being favored over Coastal by 8, thereabouts across the board? I'm sorry, but James Madison, the Dukes, boy, these guys are good, but they're not good enough to beat Coastal straight up like that. I'm taking Coastal. Middle Tennessee getting 4.5 from Louisiana Tech. It's going to be Louisiana Tech. Winners are going to be in this one. I have to run through these quickly because we're running out of time. Western Kentucky over UTEP. Western Kentucky all over UTEP. Northwestern travels to Maryland. It's going to be Maryland in that one. UNLV travels to Utah State. They're probably going to get well against Utah State. Utah travels to Phoenix or to Tempe to play Arizona State. That one's Utah all over the place. Missouri's going to get really well at UMass, and there's the pick of the week. That's the pick of the month. Missouri Tigers over the UMass Minutemen. Ball State travels to Kent State. That one's Ball State all over. Clemson at Wake, lay the 20. Clemson. Toledo, the Rockets at Buffalo. I'll take Buffalo. The home team, Bulls. Buffalo Bulls, plus 9.5. That's a lot of points. Georgia Tech, -4 at Carolina. Carolina's going to win that game straight up. Army, big favorites over UAB. It's going to be Army all day. Wisconsin travels to New Jersey to play Rutgers. Wisconsin, look out. You're going to get murdered in this one. It's going to be Rutgers. South Carolina goes to Alabama. Same thing. South Carolina's going to be a rough day. Alabama all over you. Washington travels to Iowa in a weird Big Ten clash. We're going to go with Iowa in that defense. Eastern Michigan and Miami. That one's Miami all over. Memphis travels to South Florida. Don't even know if they're going to play that game. I don't think they're going to. Cal travels to Pittsburgh. This one's got Cal written all over it, even though Pittsburgh is I would take Cal with the dog, as the dog, the 3.5 points. Northern Illinois at Bowling Green, that one is Northern Illinois. The Akron Zips will remain zip, losing to Western Michigan. Bank on it. Louisville, Virginia, that one's Louisville. They got to bounce back from the last loss. Old Domino at Georgia State, this one's Georgia State. Cincinnati at UCF, that game won't be played. Purdue travels to Illinois, that one's all day Illinois. Purdue's terrible. San Jose State, Colorado State. Watch out, San Jose State's going to win that one. Stanford travels to Notre Dame, but Notre Dame is going to get that win, easy. Texas, number 1, at Oklahoma. High-scoring affair. That one's got Texas despite their start in the backup. San Diego State, Wyoming. This one has Wyoming at home. Penn State at USC. We're going to take the Fighting Irish. No, we're going to take USC against Penn State. Ohio, the Bobcats at Central Michigan. We're going to go with the Bobcats in this one. Arizona travels to Brigham Young down over to Provo. Arizona's a very good squad. BYU's tough at home. Watch that defense. You know what? We're going to go with BYU in this one. The defense of Mississippi State travels to the defense of Georgia. I'm going to take Miss State plus 34. That's a lot of points in a conference game. Southern Miss at Louisiana Monroe. That one's Louisiana Monroe. Tennessee is going to get well against Florida. North Texas Mean Green, they're not going to play that game at Florida Atlantic. UTSA travels to Rice. You know what? Let's go with Rice in that one, even though UTSA is a better squad. Air Force at New Mexico. This one screams Air Force. Washington State travels to Fresno State. Fresno State's at a crossroads. They need a big win. I think they might pull an upset here. They are a home team dog. Arkansas State, Texas State. This one's got Texas State all over it. Ole Miss and LSU. We're going with Ole Miss. Last team with the ball is going to win that one. App State and Louisiana. App State will take with 10.5. A lot of points. Ohio State, Oregon State, and a marquee matchup. It's going to be Ohio State on the road at Eugene. Oregon State over in Corvallis against Nevada. Oregon State with an easy win. Vanderbilt will lose big to Kentucky. Iowa State will cover against West Virginia. Marshall against Georgia Southern. We're going to go with Marshall, the Thundering Herd. Syracuse at Raleigh. It's going to be Syracuse with a bounce back. Minnesota at UCLA. Everybody beats UCLA. Kansas State will beat Colorado. Boise State with their big running game all over Hawaii in Honolulu. Florida International at Liberty. It's going to be Liberty. And in the final game, it's going to be New Mexico State and Jacksonville State. I don't think that game's going to be played, so don't even worry about it. That's going to do it for the circus today. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, and we'll see you in about 23 hours on your favorite station. Until then, so long, everyone.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.